Hello and welcome to the Economic Development Administration's Build Back Better Regional Challenge applicant webinar. This presentation provides a closer look at the technical requirements for submitting a concept proposal for this $1 billion American Rescue Plan funding opportunity. This webinar complements additional resources for communities interested in the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, including program overviews, frequently asked questions, and more information available on EDA's website at eda.gov/ARPA/build-back-better. Before we jump into the applicant process, we provide a brief overview of the Build Back Better Regional Challenge program and the timeline for this two-phase competition. Then we'll walk through the necessary components for submitting a complete concept proposal in Phase 1. At the end, we answer some frequently asked questions and provide links to EDA resources and information to help inform your next steps. Under the American Rescue Plan, EDA has made $3 billion in supplemental funding available to assist communities nationwide in their efforts to build back better by accelerating economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic and building local economies that will be resilient to future economic shocks. The American Rescue Plan funding enables EDA to provide larger, more transformational investments through flexible funding to support community-led economic development. Applications and more information on each of these funding opportunities is available on EDA's website at www.eda.gov/ARPA. EDA's $1 billion Build Back Better Regional Challenge seeks to transform regional economies through substantial investments in regional growth clusters. Funding can be used to support infrastructure, workforce, entrepreneurship, planning, and more in order to grow regional industries and to be more inclusive, dynamic regional economies for the future. Funds will be awarded in two phases. Phase 1, 50 to 60 regional coalitions whose concept proposals are selected as finalists will receive technical assistance grants of up to $500,000 per region. Those finalists will move forward to Phase 2 and submit full applications for a group of 3 to 8 projects to support their cluster. In Phase 2, 20 to 30 regional coalitions will receive from $25 million to $75 million and up to $100 million in EDA funding for project implementation in the selected regions. As part of EDA's $3 billion American Rescue Plan funding, EDA is making a coal communities commitment, allocating $300 million to ensure support for these communities as they recover from the pandemic and create new jobs and opportunities, including through the creation or expansion of a new industry sector. EDA will award a minimum of $100 million to one or multiple regional growth clusters that support coal communities through this program. To apply for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, your organization must meet the eligibility criteria set forth in EDA's authorizing legislation. The lead institution and all coalition members who will implement projects with EDA funding in this competition must fall into one of the following categories: a district organization of an EDA-designated economic development district, Indian tribes, state, county, city, or local government entities, institutions of higher education, public or private nonprofit organizations or associations acting in cooperation with municipalities in the proposed project area. A reminder that EDA cannot make grants to individuals, small businesses, or other for-profit entities under this program. While the lead institution who submits your application in Phase 1 may be any of these eligible entities, applicants should be prepared to work with the EDA-designated Economic Development District, or EDD, to ensure that proposed projects are aligned with the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, or a civil equivalent plan for the region or regions covered by the proposed projects. Depending on the geographic footprint proposed by your cluster, this may include working with more than one EDD.
Now, let's shift to how the challenge is set up and the important deadlines to keep in mind. The Build Back Better Regional Challenge is a two-phase competition. In phase one, applicants submit concept proposals to describe their vision for the regional growth cluster. EDA will review the proposals and award 50 to 60 coalitions of partnering entities up to a $500,000 technical assistance grant to further develop the projects that will transform the respective region. Grants will be made to the lead institution for the selected coalitions. In phase two, finalists from phase one will submit complete applications for their proposed projects. EDA will award 20 to 30 coalitions from phase one with $25 to $75 million and up to $100 million to implement their group of projects to support their regional growth cluster. Grants will be made to the lead applicant for each component project. The phase one concept proposal timeline began with EDA's Notice of Funding, or NOFO, which opened on July 23, 2021. Application materials are available now and can be downloaded from the grants.gov webpage. Concept proposals are due on October 19, 2021, and must be submitted by the lead institution. Your region may identify a university, economic development organization, or another entity that is an eligible applicant with strong coordination and collaboration capacity to serve this role on behalf of a group or coalition of applicants in this competition. EDA will review proposals expeditiously and plans to announce finalists in December 2021. These finalists will receive the Technical Assistance Awards through their coalition's lead institution to further develop their project applications. The 50 to 60 finalists selected in phase one will move into the phase two competition for implementation funding. These finalists will have until March 15, 2022 to refine their strategies and submit a complete phase two application package detailing the overarching strategy and the group of projects that EDA can fund to support the cluster. Technical assistance grants are designed to accelerate development of the full applications due in phase two and can be used to fund such things as engineering, architectural, and environmental work. EDA will review the phase two applications and select 20 to 30 coalitions to receive implementation funding. At least $100 million will be awarded to coal communities as a part of EDA's Coal Communities Commitment. EDA expects to make these awards by September 2022. With this information in mind, we will now turn our focus to steps that interested applicants should take to apply for this funding opportunity. To get started, review the Build Back Better Regional Challenge Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, to familiarize yourself with the requirements for this competition. We recommend you read the entire notice, which describes requirements for both the concept proposal and the full application that will be required for finalists who are selected to proceed to the phase two competition. The remainder of this presentation will walk you through the requirements for phase one, developing and submitting the concept proposal, and the application for a technical assistance grant that will be awarded to finalists. In phase one, interested regions apply through their coalition's lead institution. Unless other arrangements are made in advance, the lead institution must submit their phase one concept proposal and technical assistance grant application electronically through grants.gov. To do so, be sure that your organization and at least one authorized organizational representative who will submit the application are registered in grants.gov, and that the SAM, or System of Award Management, information for your registered organization is up to date. If your organization has not applied for a federal grant before, please begin this process right away. This slide outlines all components of the concept proposal for phase one. All concept proposals will be reviewed for eligibility and completeness. This applicant checklist, available on EDA's Build Back Better webpage, may be helpful as you assemble this information. We will review the documentation required for each one in more detail in a moment.
Complete submissions will be evaluated according to the review criteria, scoring, and process for each phase of the competition. Full details for both phases are provided in Section E of the NOFO. EDA anticipates selecting 50 to 60 of the highest scoring concept proposals submitted in Phase 1. These will be reviewed against 9 equally weighted categories, with up to 20 points each, awarded for overall concept and anticipated outcomes, including the strength of the proposed component projects, regional assets that will be utilized, both existing and to be developed, the strength of industry leadership, sustainability, including support by regional stakeholders, equity, including the degree to which the project's benefits will be shared across all affected communities, feasibility to implement the vision and complete the proposed projects on time, capacity of the lead institution and coalition of applicants, distress level of the project region, and regional investment to support growth of the region. The first item on the checklist for your Phase 1 submission is the concept proposal narrative. This is your opportunity to succinctly describe the what, why, who, and how for your regional project. Lead institutions should work with coalition members and cluster partners to present a unified vision for your regional growth cluster, the economic opportunity that the targeted industry or industries present for your region, and how the coalition members and the component projects proposed for EDA funding will work together to successfully support that vision. Include proposed metrics for measuring success of the project, such as anticipated job creation, wage growth, or regional GDP growth. Also describe matching funds or other complementary investments accessible for project implementation in Phase 2, and provide a general timeline for completing the proposed projects. Finally, address any barriers that might impact your project, such as regulatory hurdles, pandemic safety measures, or other disruptions, and your coalition's strategy to troubleshoot and mitigate such challenges. Aim to be concise, as there's a 5-page limit for this narrative. Before developing your concept proposal, review Section 8.1 of the NOFO for key definitions, guidance, and examples that illustrate different ways in which your region might design and describe your regional growth cluster. For purposes of this competition, the lead institution refers to the entity selected to submit the Phase 1 application on behalf of your region, and that will facilitate cooperation and lead collaboration across the projects and among cluster participants throughout the project. This lead may be an EDD, a university, a local government agency, or another eligible entity with capacity for this lead role. Coalition members refer to the entire group of EDA-eligible entities that come together to submit applications for the proposed component projects in Phase 2. This group includes the lead institution and can be comprised of several municipalities, a community college, a port district, a business incubator, or similar eligible entities that will serve as lead applicants, co-applicants, or subawardees for the Phase 2 implementation projects. Lastly, the Notice of Funding Opportunity refers to cluster partners, which should include a diversity of partnering organizations that will work with the coalition of applicants to make the regional growth cluster successful. Examples of cluster partners, shown here in blue, include strong industry, government, academic, community, and civic organizations. This funding opportunity is open to all areas of the country and can support diverse industries and geographies. Applicants can design a proposed cluster relative to the needs and conditions of their region and targeted industry. In describing your concept proposal, vision, and projects, the narrative should articulate how the chosen footprint represents a purposeful strategy for maximum collaboration and impact. The proposed projects need not be in contiguous jurisdictions. They can be located in both urban and rural areas, along a corridor that crosses multiple counties, and may even cross state lines. Applicants should, however, describe how the projects will work together to enhance interconnectivity of the cluster, such as by building stronger urban-rural linkages, maximizing the potential for globally competitive industries, leading to quality jobs, and addressing economic distress in the region. Section A.1 of the NOFO offers several helpful examples of cluster projects to further illustrate these points. Your coalition's vision and collection of proposed component projects should be consistent with the region's comprehensive economic development strategy or an equivalent EDA-accepted regional economic development plan. For those not familiar, the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, is a strategy-driven document typically prepared by an EDA-designated multi-jurisdiction economic development district organization. The CEDS serves as a roadmap for regional economic growth and resiliency. In areas not served by an economic development district, EDA may accept as equivalents such documents as statewide or regional comprehensive plans, regional resilience or recovery plans, or a combination of these plans. Applicants may include in their Phase 1 submission letters of support from organizations that prepare CEDS or equivalent plans for areas served by the proposed collection of projects. Depending on the group of projects proposed, this may entail alignment with multiple CEDS or equivalent plans. You can contact the EDA Economic Development Representative for your state for help to connect with the appropriate EDD and CEDS, or to identify an equivalent EDA-accepted regional economic development strategy. Before leaving this section on requirements for the concept proposal narrative, we'd like to highlight a few economic development tools that may be useful in describing the economic opportunity presented by the regional growth cluster in relation to your target industry or industries, and proposed metrics of success for component projects. A new tool available from Argonne National Labs can be helpful to present key economic indicators that summarize industry concentration, workforce availability, economic assets, risks and equity issues, pandemic impact, and other conditions facing your region. This tool, called the National Economic Resilience Data Explorer, has easy to download reports and links to key underlying data sources for conducting further analyses. Other tools from EDA's partners include the Stats America portal that has a tool for measuring distress based on unemployment and income levels, the U.S. Cluster Mapping Project led by Harvard's Institute for Strategy and Competitiveness, and the Census Business Builder tool from the U.S. Bureau of the Census that includes a new industry cluster feature in its latest release of the Small Business Edition.
In addition to the 5-page concept proposal narrative, the Phase 1 application includes an appendix section where you can provide more information on the 4 elements of a strong regional growth cluster, including your cluster's regional assets, industry leadership, sustainability, and equity. These elements are also discussed further in Section A.1 and in the scoring criteria in Section E.2 of the NOFO. We'll review the guidance for how to address each of these elements in the appendix next. In this appendix, first include a list of regional assets critical to the success of the regional growth cluster. Assets can include a region's infrastructure, existing competitive advantages, complementary capabilities among supply chain firms, newly proposed projects, diversity of its community and geography, and links between them. If assets are managed by an entity who is not a coalition member, we strongly recommend including a letter of support from that entity. Also, be sure to review EDA's non-relocation policy in Section H.6 of this NOFO. Industry leadership and private sector engagement are critical components for success of the regional growth cluster. Please include a description of the cluster's private sector engagement strategy in this appendix. List the employers and labor associations that your coalition has engaged during our application development. Include specific roles that coalition expects employer partners to play in this cluster, including any commitments received, such as commitments for hiring and financial investments. If possible, include a letter of support from these employers and a labor union. A third item in this appendix should be a succinct draft plan about how you will maintain or improve the cluster's growth and shared prosperity in the years beyond ARPA funding. This means that EDA would like to ensure the cluster can continue to grow and to thrive after the 5-year federal funding window closes. Lastly, your key elements appendix should include a draft plan that describes how benefits of the proposed regional growth cluster will be shared equitably across all affected communities in your project area, both urban and rural, and how resident and community leadership will be engaged throughout the project's duration. Although not required, EDA encourages efforts to reach historically excluded populations, racial minorities, and women. These strategies should create the connectivity and conditions for growth where it may not exist, such as in rural and underserved communities. Include specific outreach strategies and letters of support from any community or other groups that will support implementation. Letters of support should articulate the role of the groups played in developing the plan.
In your submission, clearly identify the coalition member who will serve as the lead institution across both phases of this competition. As mentioned previously, this is an important role. The lead institution facilitates communication, cooperation, and collaboration between the various projects and cluster partners. The lead institution also receives the Technical Assistance Award and may implement component projects in Phase 2. EDA will consider the lead institution's financial and management capacity, its experience managing large federal grants and subawards, and its ability to assist the coalition to meet the metrics described in their regional growth cluster applications. Within the lead institution, identify a regional competitiveness officer who will serve as the central coordinator, convener, and facilitator of communication and technical assistance between coalition members, cluster partners, and community members. This position may be an existing employee within the lead institution or a new hire. The lead institution should provide their strategy for hiring this individual in their Phase 1 concept proposal. EDA does not have a job description for this position, given that the different applicants will have different needs. Another requirement for a complete concept proposal is documentation from each coalition member that will implement one or more of the EDA-funded projects, indicating that they have read the application and are committed to executing their component of the strategy. A fifth item on the checklist are letters of support from other cluster partners. Applicants should attach letters from any partner organizations that were not already included in the earlier appendices regarding industry leadership and the proposed equity plan. Also, if your coalition of applicant entities does not include at least one municipality, include at least one letter of support from a unit of state or local government within your application project area. The last two parts to the Phase 2, Phase 1 application are materials required for EDA to provide a technical assistance grant awarded to the lead institution for coalitions selected as finalists that move on to Phase 2. The lead institution should prepare a project narrative for the technical assistance grant that describes the task, timeline, and expected outputs of those tasks, and a budget narrative that details how funds will be used to accomplish those tasks. Include a staffing plan with a description of personnel costs that identifies key personnel and roles, including the regional competitiveness officer or plans to hire one. An optional staffing and budget template available on EDA's webpage may be helpful in completing the required standard federal forms for the Phase 1 Technical Assistance Award. This template is an optional tool that can help your organization meet those requirements. However, it in no way prevents you from supplying this information in an alternative format. The Phase 1 Technical Assistance Grant is itself a substantial award and is designed to provide finalists with both an immediate and an ongoing resource to support their cluster strategy and projects. The anticipated project period can range from 12 to 24 months or longer, depending on regional needs. Initial activities for this award should start promptly and can include onboarding the Regional Competitiveness Officer, funding preliminary engineering and environmental studies for component projects, refining equity and sustainability plans, and securing commitments for the full applications due in Phase 2 implementation funding due by March 15, 2022. This is a key deliverable, but assistance should continue long after submission. Technical assistance should help the 50 to 60 finalist regions to refine their plans and strategies, ensure community engagement, and accelerate collaboration and support for project implementation. Regional competitiveness officers can work with selected regions to support project implementation and help non-selected regions to mature their projects for other sources of funding. Since these technical assistance grants can be used for certain preliminary costs of projects that may receive subsequent EDA assistance, applicants are advised to carefully review the procurement restrictions in Section H of the NOFO and to review the frequently asked questions on procurement and treatment of pre-award costs on EDA's Build Back Better Regional Challenge webpage. The seventh and last item in the Phase 1 application checklist is the set of standard federal forms for the Technical Assistance Grant. These include the Application for Federal Assistance, SF-424, Budget Information for Non-Construction Programs, SF-424A, the CD-511 Certification regarding lobbying, and Disclosure of Lobbying Activities, the SFLLL, if applicable. Nonprofit applicants that are not an institution of higher education must also provide additional attachments, including articles of incorporation, certificate of good standing, and bylaws. EDA's ARPA resources page has customer support modules with further guidance on completing these forms. We've linked the videos for how to fill out the SF-424 and the SF-424A to this presentation. Once you've completed these elements for your Phase 1 concept proposal and technical assistance award application, you are ready to submit the complete package through grants.gov. Please register early and submit your application early to ensure successful transmission. Taken together, these requirements for Phase 1 allow applicants to describe a unified vision for how their projects, partners, and stakeholders will work together on near-term actions and a longer-term strategy to drive durable change through a strong regional industry cluster. As you assemble your materials, consider the discussion in Section A of the NOFO regarding the outcomes and outputs your coalition should seek, including to develop a long-term transformational vision and execution plan for a region's industry, integrating efforts across diverse stakeholders and communities, to advance equity and support economically disadvantaged communities, to increase regional innovation and entrepreneurship capacity, to foster and grow a workforce for industry, to build assets and infrastructures for growth, and to catalyze private sector investment in tangible outcomes for regional growth.
As a reminder, here is the overview of the total award timeline. Now let's shift into some of the most frequently asked questions.
Are co-applicants allowed in this competition?
Only the lead institution may receive a Phase 1 technical assistance grant although the lead institution may subaward portions of that grant to other eligible coalition members. Co-applicants are permissible for Phase 2 implementation projects, but should be limited to the coalition members who will perform the implementation component project and any other eligible entities that are required for project performance, such as the owner of necessary real estate property.
Can my organization serve as a lead institution or coalition member on more than one application in this competition?
An eligible entity may be included as a coalition member to implement distinct projects under more than one application. The capacity of such coalition members to undertake multiple projects to support different regional growth clusters and their likelihood to complete all projects on time and within budget should be addressed in each applicant's concept proposal. Given the central coordinating and collaborative role required for the coalition's lead institution, it may be unlikely that the same organization could successfully serve in this central capacity for multiple Build Back Better regional challenge coalitions.
How should we consider match requirements as we approach each phase?
While Phase 1 technical assistance grants do not require a match, there will be about a 20% match required for Phase 2 projects, which should be considered as applicants submit Phase 1 proposals.
What project costs are eligible for funding under Phase 1 of this competition?
Uses of the technical assistance award can include component project applicant readiness. Funding may be used to develop architectural, environmental, and engineering plans for implementation component projects. Equity. Funding should help coalition members mature plans and strategies to reach historically excluded populations, racial minorities, and women. The Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer. Funding should support the creation of a Regional Economic Competitive Officer to serve as a coalition leader and liaison to EDA and to other federal agencies. Create long-term infrastructure. Technical assistance efforts should benefit the regional growth cluster long after Phase 2 application submission.
Are there restrictions on using contractors procured under the Phase 1 Technical Assistance Grant in the implementation projects that EDA may fund in Phase 2?
Yes, the procurement standards of the uniform guidance govern all procurement under the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, and these include certain restrictions that may exclude contractors, such as a professional engineer or architect that undertakes preliminary design activities for a project from bidding on the same work under an EDA award. Please see section H3 of the Build Back Better NOFO, page 43, Notice of Government-Wide Procurement Restriction.
Can my coalition use Phase 1 technical assistance funds past the Phase 2 deadline, even if my coalition's projects are not selected for a Phase 2 award?
Yes, if the region is not selected in Phase 2, this funding could be used to mature the projects for future funding opportunities at EDA or other agencies and support other activities that could lead to increased regional economic competitiveness. If the region is selected in Phase 2, the Phase 1 technical assistant grant funds may go towards additional planning activities that support the approved Phase 2 implementation projects.
Can a state or other partner organization support more than one Build Back Better Regional Challenge application?
Yes, EDA encourages regional applicants to demonstrate strong collaboration with state government partners, as well as with local government, private sector, labor, and community-based organizations. Cluster activities that are well coordinated and strategically aligned with state economic development priorities and resources are well positioned to foster long-term growth and sustainability. EDA expects the competition for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge to be strong and encourages governors, state agencies, and other partners to consider applicant projects in the context of their statewide plans and initiatives for regional recovery. and to work with lead institutions for each coalition to provide a compelling letter of support as part of a competitive application for assistance during the concept proposal and subsequent full application phase.
This ends our formal presentation, but we have some additional resources available that we'd like to run through now. As a reminder, your EDA regional offices in EDA's 6 areas are available to provide technical consultation as you prepare your application. There are many more resources for the Build Back Better Regional Challenge applicants available on our website. The links are shown here. Important deadlines and resources we cannot stress enough include the deadline for concept proposal, which is October 19th, 2021. Thank you and good luck.